equals e to the x over 2. And they're asking you to find the antiderivative, which would be big F of x. So if you remember your formulas, this is actually the formula, the e to the k x dx 1 over k. That's a k, it's an ugly k. And so this piece stays the same. So that's what you're doing when you're doing these problems, is you're finding this antiderivative, so e to the x over 2, don't know what that was, dx. So by looking at this, I see the e to the x over 2 stays the same, and now I just have to figure out what's k. Well, if you split this into two pieces, so x over 2 would be the same thing as x over 1 times 1/2. So in other words, the value that's in front of x is 1/2. So if I stick the 1/2 here, then I have to realize that 1 over 1/2 is the same as 2, right? So that's going to equal 2e to the x over 2. So let's do a side note of why, because some students are asking, why would that be 2? Well, if you remember, this is dividing a fraction, and go back to the olden days, what did you do? You flipped and multiplied, so that's how that becomes 2. Now, to finish this off, it's really plus c. So on this question, you might have this as an answer. You might have another answer that will work if they just simply give you a constant. All right, let's see another one that I'm getting asked a lot about. So blah, 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 is what if I find the antiderivative of the square root of t to the 9th power, okay, or f of t equals this. So anytime you can change everything to powers, because we know we have a power rule that says if I can write it as a power, this is x to the n plus 1 over n plus 1. So I can certainly write this as a power because I know the square root is the same as the 1/2 power. And then I can bring the 9 inside and multiply it by 1/2. So if I do that, I get t to the 9 over 2. And now I'm ready to use my power rule, which says 9 over 2 plus 1, 9 over 2 plus 1, which is going to be 9 over 2 plus 2 over 2 to get common denominator. 2 over 2. So this is going to, let's scroll a little bit, equal t to the 11 over 2 and 11 over 2. And based off of what I was showing you up here, the whole flipping thing, when this gets flipped, what's going to happen is this is now going to become 2 over 11. So that got flipped, t to the 11 over 2, and then of course plus c. And you could write that like this. I don't know why my ones are getting messy. You could write it like that. You don't have to write the fraction, actually out front, but that would just be another way of writing it. So anytime, remember, you have things that you have either fractions or you have radicals like this, change them, always change them to powers. So if I had something like 1 over x squared, okay, so I know that I could rewrite that as x to the negative 2, because when you bring the exponent up, it becomes negative. And now I just do that thing that we do, that power rule. And so I get x to the negative 1 over negative 1. And if you want, you could rewrite that as bring the power down. So that's kind of the key on all of these, is try to figure out, is there a way I can write this as a power rule so I can use this? Otherwise, you're just using things, the sine or cosine or the log or the e's, and all of these are pretty much the same if you can get them to a power.